Hello and welcome to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi dated 14th May 2026. Today we have taken up important news and article from The Hindu and Indian Express newspaper and have segregated our discussion into two parts, that is analysis and prelims pointer. The first topic is analysis section is related to India Nordic Summit. Prime Minister Modi is going to attend the third Nordic Summit scheduled in the second half of the May. So in this topic, we will be covering issues related to India-Nordic relation and opportunities as well as way forward. The second article is related to competitive examination and their credibility in India due to the recent uproar caused by the cancellation of NEET examination. Here we will be taking up the challenges related to competitive examination in India and solution therein. Both these topics will be followed by practice mains question so that you can assess your understanding. Topics for prelims pointer are listed here, which will cover important and relevant information from the perspective of UPSC examination. So let us begin our discussion. So the first topic of today's session is related to India Nordic Summit. Now Prime Minister Modi is expected to attend the third India Nordic Summit from the 19th May, going to be organized in Oslo, that is Norway. Now this article talks about the significance of this summit and what India can achieve from this and how Indian geopolitics or the Indian foreign policy should evolve to give center stage to Nordic countries so that it can benefit from their expertise and exposures. So article says that at a time when the turbulence of Trumpian era has unsettled global norms, India and the Nordic countries share a common interest, that is rule-based global order and resilient supply chain in defending world order and stability. Important from the perspective of GS paper 2, that is bilateral, regional and global groupings and agreements involving India. So in this discussion, we will be looking into why the Nordic countries hold significance. What are the significance? Then we will look into what are the key issues which are involved in this relation. Why we are not utilizing the potential of this bilateral relation to the extent which it should be. Next, we will see some suggestions, which will include suggestion from the author itself and some other suggestion related to India Nordic Summit. So first and foremost, what is this summit all about? So this is an official high-level platform between India and 5 Nordic countries, namely Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. The first summit was held in 2018 in Stockholm, Sweden. Second was in 2022, that is Copenhagen, and 2026 in Oslo, Norway. Now you can see the gap is of 4 years and main objective is to strengthen the cooperation in the field of green transition, climate action, innovation, technology, trade and investment, blue economy and Arctic cooperation and sustainable development. Furthermore, this is not limited to just these 5 countries, but it transcends beyond that. It covers the Nordic Baltic 8 grouping that include 3 more countries in the Baltic region, that is Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, along with the 5 Nordic countries. And together they provide a good avenue for Indian export and import. As you can see here, from 2018 to 2019, the export has risen to 3.6 billion from 2.45 billion, while the total trade has grown up from $6.29 billion to $9.04 billion. This is modest figure, not up to the mark or what is the potential, but is still growing in a right direction, showing the trend of growth. Additionally, these Nordic countries are also part of very important environmental grouping, that is Arctic Council. So along with these 5 Nordic countries, there is Russia, there is USA and there is Canada. So these 8 countries together with form the Arctic Council, and they are aimed towards their main objective is the sustainable use of the Arctic region to maintain the sustainability of Arctic region so as to mitigate the issues of climate change. Again, India has an observer status in this Arctic Council, and partnership with these countries or engaging more elevated partnership with these countries have multiple effect or multifaceted benefit for India, from economy to technology to environment as well as the global order. We will see all those things. Now, the key areas of cooperation, that significance, why we are now talking about the Nordic countries, or why author is highlighting the significance of Nordic countries. So, first thing is green energy transition. Now, these Nordic countries, or in general parlance, we call them the Scandinavian countries, they are world leader in the sustainable technological issues and sustainable technological solution. So name it offshore wind energy, or name it renewable energy, name the, you can say, clean technologies, name it carbon capture and sequestration, everywhere, green hydrogen, name it, and these countries are the global leader. Now, just consider India's target. India want to achieve net neutrality, net zero emission by 2070. India want to expand its renewable energy share in the total energy production. India wants to increase the carbon sequestration. India wants to decarbonize its industry. Now, the global leaders like Nordic countries are, you can say, natural partner to provide India with the technology as well as the finances and resources to develop and achieve these goals. Second is the global leadership in blue economy and maritime cooperation. So these Nordic countries are global leader in terms of the green maritime corridors, that is negligible emission during the passage of the cargo and ship and maritime transport. Secondly, they have, you can say, a very good record in the modernization of port with a sustainable outlook. Second, they have a very good expertise in sustainable fishing. Now consider India's goal, name it Sagarmala, or talk about port-led growth. Talk about India's goal to develop its own blue or harness its own blue economy through sustainable fisheries. All these things, these countries are having expertise, and India can take leverage and can learn and can partner with them to develop its own economy, or you can say social aspects related to sustainability. Third, the innovation and technological partnership. Now, apart from the sustainability, these countries are again very much advanced in terms of cyber security, telecom, AI, and the economy is innovation based. Now, just again, think about India's global supply chain, or what India wants to transition into. India wants to transition into the AI based supply chain, or it wants to become hub of semiconductor. It wants to have this telecom penetration with utmost security apparatus. Now again, these countries can provide the technological know-how to India and can help India in achieving those goals. Fourth is the Arctic cooperation, which we were talking about regarding the Arctic Council. Now, just think about, it is not just limited to the research in the Arctic region or the polar region, because this climate-induced phenomena and geophysical phenomena, they have kind of teleconnection. So any impact or any negative impact to the Arctic ecosystem is bound to affect India's prospect in terms of monsoonal variability. Second, in terms of sea level rise, so the threat to its coastal regions. So it is not just about research, but it is about active cooperation to mitigate the ill effects of the climate change. So again, Participation and more dialogue and deliberation with these countries can help India to understand and mitigate and formulate strategies to minimize the impact of the climate change. Lastly, if you can recall the Human Development Index or the Democracy Related Index, Nordic countries or Scandinavian countries, they always feature in the top 5 countries of the world. Now, they believe in the rule-based order. Many a times they have taken a stance of peaceful resolution of conflict. Many a times they have been flag bearer of democratic values. Many a times they have offered their help to resolve various conflict in various parts of the globe. So again, the point is, this is a group of country which values human life, which values human rights, and which values the rule-based geopolitical order. Again, in line with India's own, you can say, policy of preaching for the rule-based global order. So this is a win-win situation where India can harness the expertise or the principles of Nordic countries vis-a-vis technology, vis-a-vis maritime cooperation, vis-a-vis fisheries, vis-a-vis, you can say, Arctic cooperation, climate mitigation, or the global governance. So this is a win-win situation. Another thing which author has highlighted, that recently India and European Free Trade Association, which includes Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland, 4 countries plus India. So they signed a TEPA, that is Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, and this was for the first time that there was a binding commitment of $100 billion of investment and 1 million direct jobs in the next 15 years. Now, in order to take the concept, or you can say realize the dream of renewable energy or the developed economy, these investments are very crucial for India. And due to the bureaucratic hurdles and several issues which we will take later, these investments have not yet been realized by both the side. So that is what author says, that this again provides an opportunity, because if you will see, these Nordic countries, Iceland and Norway, are part of this TEPA, that is agreement, and it is very important for India to leverage this agreement and to get these investment and job for its own economy. Now, the challenges. So what are the challenges? Now, unlike any other country or any other neighboring country, you cannot find any particular or very deepening issue with the Nordic countries as vis-a-vis India. But there are some issues. First is the underexploited potential. Now, we have seen that investment and trade hovers around now 9 to 10 billion. Now, if you will compare it with China, it is doing around 50 to 60 billion business with the Nordic countries itself. 5 times more than what India is doing. Leave China. If you will consider India and Russia, India's trade with one country, and here we are talking about group of 5 countries which represent developed economy. Russia, we have this trade of around 60-70 billion dollar per annum. If you will go and check European Union and Gulf countries, then this figure crosses 100 billion. Now, when you compare this with the $9 billion of annual trade, it is underexploited, or you can say very modest. And it has not been very much into the center of the political debates, or the strategic partnership has not been very intense, or you can say very active. It is periodic and it is limited and it is modest. Next is, several times human right and political issues, we will say perspective, they do not create any huge friction, but at least diplomatic discomfort they create. So in 2012-13, there was an issue of adoption of child custody. Not adoption of child, there was an issue of child custody, where again, I would say it was not a major issue, but it creates diplomatic discomfort. Then issue of internal security of India. So many a times uh, unwanted, unwarranted comments they come from these countries regarding the human right violation and democratic values, again creating diplomatic concerns and frictions at a small level, which is not a big thing to worry about, but still these are the friction. Next is the competition from other powers. Now I gave you example of China. EU with its vicinity, China sitting just in our neighborhood, have a better economic penetration and cooperative penetration in Nordic countries if you will consider India's penetration and engagement. Then the geographic and strategic distance. Now, the level of engagement that India is having with the Gulf countries, ASEAN countries, BRICS countries, it is not same with the Nordic countries. Traditionally, they have not been at the center of the India's geopolitical landscape or consideration or deliberation, which needs to be improved. Lastly, there are regulatory and investment challenges. Now, this news just 5 days before, it talks about that even after 2 years, India seeks early resolution of issues related to implementation of EFTA trade pact. Now, two countries, I have told you, Iceland and Norway are part of this, but still, they have not told the issues, they have not deliberated upon the issues, but they have clearly said that we are unable to realize the full potential of this agreement, and several provision and you can say the agreements are yet to be realized because of certain bureaucratic hurdles, or hurdle related to taxation system, hurdle related to the technology, hurdle related to the clearance, hurdle related to the photosanitary measure. So these are the hurdles which need to be cleared as early as possible. Now, what could be the way forward? First is, and in one line you can say, India need to engage with Nordic countries at all level and with an increased efficiency, and it should not be periodic, it should be regular. So first is the green strategic partnership. So there is need to develop green corridors, a climate tech platform, and clean energy funds to support the sustainable transition goals that India is having, and these countries have expertise. So we need to provide these MOUs, these active participation, active evaluation, active you can say engagement with the Nordic countries. Then author talks about a state level cooperation, where he gives example of Kerala. So he talks about how in 1950s itself, Norway engaged in the development of the fisheries sector in Kerala. It introduced motor boats in Kerala, and due to which the fisheries sector in Kerala is relatively sustainable and more profitable and more developed when compared to other parts. So again, author says that such state level cooperation can also be leveraged, and coastal regions like Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, they can take benefit of these expertise, and they can also engage in the sectoral bilateral engagements or agreements. Then, as we have seen, the technology, they have a very good hold, or you can say expertise in cyber security, in you can say the deep tech, clean tech, green tech, everything, they have an expertise. So we need to expand the cooperation in R&D, startups, semiconductor, quantum technology, and deep tech innovation, which is still lagging in India. So we can take help of their expertise. Then we should be enlarging the Arctic engagement, and it should be strengthened. The polar research, climate modeling, scientific diplomacy, and Arctic governance should be promoted. Then the financial cooperation. So these Nordic sovereign wealth funds, like pension funds and green finance for infrastructure and energy transition development in India. And as you have seen, author has already highlighted that this 100 billion under the trade agreement with the EFTA, free trade association, that is having, is very important from the perspective of India when we consider that energy transition projects in India. Then lastly, the soft power, that is people to people linkages, should be improved with academic exchanges, tourism, skilled labor mobility, research collaboration, innovation partnership that will improve the social ties and further will help in achieving India's goal of transitioning towards an economy which is not producing carbon or not contributing towards the global climate change. Rather, it should also, India should present itself as an example of sustainable green energy based economy. So these countries can play a vital role in achieving the dream of 2070 net zero emission. Now, based on this, this is your practice question, which says that despite strong complementaries, India-Nordic relation remain under-realized. Analyze the challenges and suggest a way forward. A 250 marker, 250 word, 15 marker question. Try to attempt it. The next news article is based on this particular article, which reads as NEET has revived anxieties it was meant to eliminate. So recent fiasco related to national eligibility cum entrance test and the cancellation of the paper has again raised a question about the efficacy and the transparency of and overall credibility of the competitive examinations in India. So this news article talks about the repeated failures in terms of paper leaks, examination cancellation, and irregularities in examination. It is not just about NEET, but UGC NET, various police recruitment examination in different state, various PCS examination, the state public service commissions and railways, several national and state level examination, they have witnessed this leaks, cancellation and irregularities. And this have raised the concern regarding transparency, credibility, welfare of a student and effectiveness of examination governance framework. Important from the perspective of GS paper 2. First is government policies and intervention in different sector, because government is not sitting idle. It is trying its best to remove these discrepancies and irregularities. While GS paper 2 talks about issues relating to development and management of social sector services relating to education as well as health. So here we are talking about education. So in this discussion, we will be looking into what are the key issues involved with the examination landscape of India, how it has become what supposed to become a merit-based qualification or merit-based competitive exam has become a kind of a matter of debate and matter of anxiety for the students. And we will also look into what steps government has taken. We will also look into what are the suggestions in general and as well as what the author has to say about it. So let us begin the discussion with the key issues with competitive exams in India. First is the repeated paper leak. Now, if is to believe on the report by Times of India, since 2019, there are more than 65 exams which have been cancelled since 2019 at various levels. whether it is a state level public service commission, railways, police, banking sector, SSC, medical examination, and name examination, and you will find that some or the other, even if NEET, if you will consider, there were allegation in 2024 also of paper leak, but it was the proof was not substantial and they continued with the examination. Now another debate is whether it was rigged or not. So this repeated paper leak and examination fraud have affected all the stakeholders. Students, they have this dilemma that whether whatever exam they are giving, they are going to get the final result this year or not. The time that time that is getting wasted. Government, which is trying its best to get through the examination, like balanced examination, transparent manner, fair examination, they are also facing challenges, and when such events happen, they face criticism again, and the delays in recruitment process. And other stakeholders like parents and society as a whole, they kind of this repeated paper leaks and examination fraud, somewhere they affect the overall morale of the individual or the individuals who are associated with the aspirants towards the how they are looking towards an examination. Second issue is the dependence on high stakes testing. Now author says that it is very unfortunate that and this has been debated regarding the Indian competitive examination. So author has an argument that how can you decide fate or destiny of an student, the career trajectory, the social mobility, the educational mobility, everything, just on the basis of 2 hour or 3 hour of paper. So the person is putting efforts since last 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and you are testing them on one parameter in just 2 hours. So author has to say that it is putting unnecessary pressure on the student as well as on the system, because system is not getting profession worthy aspirants. It is just about the rote learning and pattern mapping kind of selection based on speed, that's it. And it is something which is putting pressure. And if you will see the logically, author says how you can check efficacy of a student for the rest of his or her life just on the basis of a 2 hour or 3 hour examination paper. So again, a centrality. So it is more about this paper and clearing the paper. This will decide your destiny, what kind of aspirant you are, what kind of human being you are, what kind of career you are going to pursue, what would be your future trajectory. Now, these things are putting unnecessary mental health crisis among students. So, depression, anxiety, social isolation, and rising rate of the suicide by the students at in various sectors. You might have learned about those news articles. So, these excessive dependence on this high stake examination, because if you will fail, you are kind of isolated, you are being ostracized as what to do now. You have failed this examination and all those things. And just imagine this is happening to around 20-25 lakh student every year. We are just talking about one examination. There are several other. Third thing, it also raises question on the weak institutional capacity and coordination, because many a times, even in online examination, you will learn that at some center system crashed, at some center there was a delay, at some center they had to cancel the examination because system did not work, internet connection did not work. Now this puts an unnecessary burden on the agencies to conduct such an high stake examination in 1 day or 2 days across the India, and handling 20-25 lakh students for a single examination. And this again highlights also and becomes an issue of the weak capacity and coordination among agencies, because since last 10-15 years, Every year you will find that some or the other exam are being there are allegation that it is rigged or it is cancelled because of the you can say failure in the center, power failure, internet failure, system failure, or the paper leakage, anything. So these are the key issues. Now these four things, they combine and they create a very you can say disturbing scenario where there is a trust deficit and legitimacy crisis among those who are conducting this examination. Plus, think about an aspirant who is going to give an examination and there is a doubt in his or her mind that I'm going to appear for the examination, whether I'll be getting a fair result or not. So where is the meritocracy? Where is the transparency? Where is the fairness? Where is the time-bound result? Lastly, these examinations, they also expose gap in the education system. So now these examinations have become more about rote learning, speed, and the mapping of the pattern, for which school education or the college education is not being seen as sufficient to clear this examination. And that is why you will see that almost 99% of students, they seek some kind of guidance. They seek some kind of, you can say, assistance in terms of mentorship, coaching, etc. So again, it highlights the gap in the education system, that you are conducting an examination, you are saying it is based on the syllabus that you have read in your school, you have read in your college, but a student is not confident enough to take that examination because they know that this education is not sufficient to clear this examination. Again, highlighting a very key issue of the education gap. Now, what are the impacts? First is the trust deficit and legitimacy crisis, but it has a broader social impact. Because right now the issue of NEET examination, if you will see, and those who were ready to pay or were able to pay the money that was asked for the leaked paper, what about others? What about those who have who doesn't have this resource of getting these privileges? Think about the educational gap. We have this quality of education and we have this gap in the quality of education. Just compare the quality of education in any urban center and tier 2, tier 3 cities, metro cities and tier 2, tier 3 cities. Now, there is an inequality in terms of the quality of education that you are getting. Definitely, it is going to affect the inclusiveness quotient of the examiners, the fairness quotient of the examination, and it certainly creates a situation where there is an inequality in opportunity. Second, this extreme competitive pressure of clearing the examination in one go, because otherwise if any exam allows attempt, you have to wait for another 1 year. For another 1 year, you have to invest some amount. Another 1 year, you have to maintain your mental stability. You have to maintain the stability so that you can put in more hard work, so that you can clear that particular examination. And that again, examination will be done in 2 hours or 3 hours next year. So it puts extreme pressure on the students, and it kind of exposes the inequality in opportunity. Second thing is the economic impact. So think about students who are again going to prepare for the re-examination, what kind of mental toil they are going through, what kind of financial toil they are going through. So they have to again manage the resources in terms of finances, in terms of materials, in terms of effort. So again, it has an economic impact also, and moreover, they have to wait for another 1 year for the process to get complete. It is not just about NEET, where re-examination has been done. Just think about the examination where it takes 4 or 5 years, because first you have to clear the examination, then you have to clear the High Court ruling, then the case will be in the Supreme Court. So maybe after 5-6 years of giving the examination, when you have no clue about what is your future, suddenly result comes, you are in or you are out. But that doesn't make any sense now, because that should have been done 5 or 6 years back. So again, it has an economic impact basically affecting the middle class families. Next is the governance issues. It clearly reflects the inadequacy and failure of government in public service delivery. Again, kind of feedback mechanism where this failure feeds into the legitimacy and credibility of the governance institution. Lastly, as author says, that if you are promoting rote learning, if you are taking students on the basis of rote learning and speed, how can you expect them to become innovation oriented? They have multidisciplinary skill, they have practical skills. How can you expect that particular student to have all those things when you yourself have made a criteria that to read these things in 2 hours, if you will deliver, you are in. So author himself says that how can you decide upon the professions like a medical professional or a lawyer or a civil servant or a person who is going to serve army, navy. So basically he wants to say that if you are checking the rote learning skill, how you can expect that person to become innovation oriented or can have practical skills. So again, you are in long run going to impact your human capital, the quality of human capital that you are producing. So government, as I have said, government is taking several steps, which the first one was the NTA in 2017, National Testing Agency, which was to do these examination in transparent manner, but of lately they are under a scanner again. There was Public Examination Act, which was created to put in stringent punishment for those who are involved in the leakage or the part of paper leak syndicate and the admission racket. Then there were technological safeguard where biometric verification, AI-enabled CCTV, GPS tracking, all these things were included. Then committee-based reforms were also instituted. So K. Radhakrishnan Committee, it recommended a stronger governance, cybersecurity audit, reduce outsourcing, because most of the paper leak is through the printing press, where an agency has outsourced the printing to an external agency. And structural reform in NTA itself, it has been advised. Then computer-based testing, basically government is trying to include more and more examination, conduct more and more examination through computer-based testing. And here author also has to give example of JEE mains, where he highlights various good points in JEE examination, where he says that there are pool of questions and there are different sets of paper. Plus, there are some standard centers which are conducting main. It is being conducted 2 times, so there is no undue pressure. You can take first one or the second one, it is up to you. So undue pressure is not there. There are different sets of paper. There are certain standard centers where these examinations are conducted. So even if at one center things go wrong, it is limited to that center. Immediately re-examination can be conducted for that particular center. It does not affect the entire country. Lastly, he says that this set of different paper, it kind of prevents the leakage, and JEE mains can be replicated to other examination in terms of avoiding the paper leakage or avoiding this syndicate which is involved in the paper leakage. But it is not just about the paper leakage or just about the, you can say, the admission syndicate. It is more about the overall landscape of examination in India. So suggestions include all the sector, like examination security. You should be securing that computer based testing should be expanded, for which JE model he has suggested. Encrypted questions should be provided, and real time monitoring system for the question paper, movement of the question paper, everything. Then single exam dependence should be reduced. Multidimensional assessment should be created, where he says that you should give weightage to board examination, you should give weightage to school performance, you should give weightage to the reasoning ability, the analytical ability. So different weightage should be given. So multiple weightage they will combine, and then you can decide which student is course worthy or not. That is what the suggestion of the author. Then he says institutional accountability should be enhanced. So audit system and fix the accountability, and strict oversight on the examination body with stricter punishment for those who are responsible for the conduct of the examination. Then cyber security and infrastructure should be updated more, so technical and security breaches can be avoided. Then student well-being is very important. So counseling support, multiple attempts, and excessive exam pressure should be reduced. Then school education linkages should be improved so that rote learning process can be reduced, and entrance preparation with conceptual and competency based school learning should be aligned. And lastly, competency based assessment. So apart from this graded valuation and like board examination, you give let's say 10% weightage to board, 10% to co-curricular activity, 10% to readings, just like that. So competency based assessment through analytical ability, reasoning, problem solving, and application oriented questions should be given in the examination. So it will help in better identification of genuine aptitude and skill, and it can also tell who is suitable for which particular field or job. So these are the suggestions regarding improving the competitive examination landscape in India. Based on this, this is the practice question. The growing scale of competitive examination in India has created governance as well as social challenges. Examine 15 marker to 50 word question. Try to attempt it. Now the first topic in prelim section is related to the lone wildlife sanctuary in Delhi, that is Asola Bhatti. Now according to a study by the Wildlife Institute of India, more than 60% of Asola Bhatti Wildlife Sanctuary is covered with an alien invasive species, which we know as Prosopis julifora, which covers at around 63% of the area of Asola Bhatti Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, important from the perspective of prelims, that is environment conservation and important wildlife sanctuary in news. So let us see what this Wildlife Institute of India research has found. So first thing, that Prosopis julifora alone covers 63.48% of the landscape. Apart from that, Lantana camara is also a major threat. So apart from suppressing the native flora, there is a benefit of Prosopis julifora also. Native, locally they call it kikar, vilaiti kikar. So this suppresses native flora, eliminates native flora, but because of the dense canopy, it kind of stabilizes in this ecosystem. In general, these alien species, they cause soil erosion, but in this case, they have stabilized the soil, and due to this dense canopy, they provide optimal habitat for some wildlife, not all, but some. That is why the Wildlife Institute has said that remove them in a phased manner, because there is a huge dependency of some organism, some animals here, some wildlife here. So remove them with native species. Another issue that has been flagged is the influx of rhesus monkey. rhesus macaque monkey. So around 20,000 macaque have been released without any SOPs being followed. Now, being a arid forest, being a tropical thorn forest, it has limited capacity to provide food for these monkeys. So these monkeys are being fed artificially, and that cost around 1 crore annually. So it has highlighted that unscientific release of rescued animal, no SOPs for handling animal, inadequate staff capacity in animal handling, inadequate rescue and release infrastructure, and lack of monitoring of released animal. This all has created burden on the only wildlife sanctuary in the Delhi and surrounding area. Now, another issue is encroachment and settlement pressure in the wildlife sanctuary. Adding to that, waste dumping, grey water inflow, poor sanitation, fringe settlement, illegal grazing, fuel wood collection, fire risk, weak research-based management, inadequate staff training, and poor inter-agency coordination, they all have impacted the Asola Bhatti in a negative manner. From prelims point of view, let us look into the geographical setting of the Asola Bhatti. It is located in the southern part, technically southeastern part of Delhi. It covers around 32.71 square kilometer area and of the Delhi ridge of the Aravalli hill range, and spread to some parts of the Faridabad and Gurugram district of Haryana also. And it is part of Northern Aravalli leopard wildlife corridor. And natural flora, it includes dhak, that is flame of the forest tree, babul, that is acacia, and khejri. And there are several shrub which are also found in this sanctuary. The faunal diversity includes Indian leopard, jackal, Indian blue bull, sambar deer, wild boar, and mongoose. It is considered as birdwatchers' paradise with over 200 species of birds, mainly Indian peafowl, crested serpent eagle, and Indian roller. Reptiles are also found in this wildlife sanctuary, including monitor lizard, Indian cobra, and Russell's viper. Now, talking about this invasive alien species, that is Prosopis juliflora, and this is a shrub or a small tree belong to Fabaceae family, and it is kind of a mesquite, a dense, you can see a dense shrub. It is with dense canopy, and it is native to Mexico. It is one of the most invasive species in arid and semi-arid area, and that's why this mesquite have a different kind of you can say adaptation, where they have taproot. So they go deep into the soil and exploit the groundwater, and you can see it absorbs more than 4 liters of water to obtain 1 kilogram of biomass. Again, with this tapping and exploitation of groundwater, and with this dense foliage, the rainwater hardly reaches the ground, so it also impacts the groundwater recharge negatively. And it was introduced in Delhi by British in 1920s, and local name include Bellari Jali, Simai Karuvelam, Simai Jali, Vilaiti Kikkar. So these are the information related to the Prosopis juliflora. If along with the juliflora, there are 4 other invasive species which have harmed the Indian forest ecosystem, namely water hyacinth, native to Amazon basin in South America; Parthenium, which is native to tropical America, known as Gajar Ghas, and water hyacinth is known as Jalkumbhi; Heptis, which is again tropical America, Vilaiti Tulsi is the local name. While the major, if you want to rate, another major is Lantana, that is again tropical America, which is known as Panchfuli or Raimunia, locally they call it. So these are some major invasive species of plants which are affecting Indian forest landscape. The next news article is related to India-Africa coordination, and it is related to the fourth Indian Africa Forum Summit, which is going to be organized in Delhi from the May 28th. Important from prelims perspective, regional and global grouping and agreements involving India. So, what is this India Africa Forum Summit? It is an official platform established in the year 2008 by Government of India and African Union. So first summit was held in New Delhi, while second is in Addis Ababa in 2011. Third summit was again held in New Delhi in 2015, and since 2015 this would be after 10 years again in New Delhi 2026. Now theme is IA Spirit, which talks about India-Africa Strategic Partnership for Innovation, Resilient and Inclusive Transformation. So this would be the theme of this conclave or summit, while logo, if you can see, Africa and India have been shown together, as was the case when both these countries were part of the same continent, that is Gondwana land. So this design reflects the primordial bond between India and Africa, which were united as a single landmass. So this is the logo. And what article has to say? As you have seen the gap in the summit. So author highlights the same issue, that 5-year, 6-year summit, it goes good for the leadership, but not good for the engagement. So you need to put in regular engagement in place, regular mechanism to create regular engagement on an yearly basis. So that is what he says, that it has been delayed. It was scheduled to be held in 2020, but due to COVID, it was delayed. Now it is being organized, or it is being concluded in 2026, but world has changed. And global churning took place. So he cites example that how EU, Japan, South Korea, Germany, France, China, all these countries have actively engaged with African Union, and they are engaging on a regular basis, while India, it waited for 10 years to conclude another summit. Then he says that India retains significant goodwill in Africa, but challenge is to convert historical affinity into sustained structure and visible engagement, which according to author is absent as of now. So 5-year summit cycle remains useful at leadership level, but in the absence of robust inter-summit mechanism, that is every year there is no engagement, there is no dialogue, there is no review, there is no deliberation. So engagement default to bilateral interactions. Now he suggests that annual track 1.5 strategic dialogue could provide the missing layer of continuity, integrating policy makers. So he asks for an annual dialogue, plus he also highlights an issue that there is a gap between what is being promised and what is being delivered. And several reports, they claim that commitment that has been made and delivery that has been done is nearly 40%. So still the 60% things are just paper tiger, or the promises on the paper. So he says this is also because of this long gap between the summit and deliberation. So he says a more formal mid-cycle review would allow both sides to recalibrate priorities. So he highlights this issue and says that India should engage more actively with the African Union, because other countries are moving at a faster pace when compared to India. Now, what are the key areas where this forum is going to deliberate? So first is the developmental partnership, which promotes cooperation in agriculture, ICT, industry infrastructure, education and capacity building projects across Africa. Second is diplomatic footprint. So since 2018, India has established 16 new diplomatic missions. So reach has been expanded to 45 African countries. India wants to engage with more countries now. Then security and defense cooperation is the new dimension which is being added for the maritime security, peacekeeping, defense ties, and regional stability. Then the economic and supply chain cooperation, which will strengthen trade, investment, coordination in critical supply chain, especially amid global disruption. So gas, oil, energy, all these things. Then the policy coordination, global governance reform. So as we have seen with the Nordic countries, global governance reform relates to the institutional reforms in UN and all. So India can utilize the support of African Union to raise its voice for these reforms. Then the implementation and delivery. So again, main issue that there is a gap between what has been promised and what has been delivered. So that has to be removed. In 2016, UPSC has asked a question based on India-Africa Forum. Try to solve this question and let us know your answer in the comment box. Another topic related to the energy security, Cabinet has approved a 37,500 crore package to boost coal gasification. Now, it has been announced to remove the dependence on the import of LNG, urea, ammonia, and methanol. So let us understand what this scheme is. So first thing, that project that this scheme seeks to incentivize 25 projects for production of syngas and downstream products, targeting gasification of the coal, which is around 75 million ton of available coal, which is to be gasified and will be converted into syngas and other products. Now, this new scheme is not entirely new, but it is additional to a viability gap funding that was provided in the year 2024. Now, that funding was 8,500 crore, but this time it was raised to 37,500 crore. So it will be, again, it is addition to that viability gap funding. And as I told you, that it is focused on reducing dependence on import of key product such as LNG, urea, ammonia, and methanol. So project size, it has a capping of 5,000 crore for a single project and for single product center project, except if the project is related to SNG, synthetic natural gas, and urea. Then the capping will extend up to 9,000 crore. So a single entity can avail, if it is involved in both the things, like single project or single product plus SNG, maximum capping is 12,000 crore per project. So what is coal gasification? As you can see here, coal is interacted with oxygen and steam under extreme pressure, temperature, and corrosive slag is used. And the byproduct is a fuel-rich gases like carbon monoxide, hydrogen, traces of carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor. Now, these gases can be used to producing synthetic natural gas using carbon monoxide and hydrogen as a catalyst. So it will give you methane, and that is synthetic natural gas. Again, these gases can be used in electricity production. Energy fuel, that is methanol, and with methanol one can be used in the production of ethanol. Hydrogen can also be extracted, here you can see, and can be used for fueling hydrogen economy. With this hydrogen, ammonia production can also be done, which is again used for fertilizer, or nitrogen plus hydrogen. And most importantly, it will help in addressing local pollution problem. So the coal burning and the pollution that it creates, if this is a cleaner option compared to the burning of coal and producing the syngas. So again, this gasification project, government is relying on producing more and more synthetic natural gas so as dependence on LNG can be reduced. With the production of ammonia, the fertilizer, urea can be addressed, then the methanol and ethanol production will reduce the dependence on the energy fuels also. Now, this news article talks about the MSP for Kharif crops, which have been hiked, while Farm Group have flagged that recent trade deals which have been concluded with the European Union or the New Zealand, they have not factored into this MSP, and they have protested the meager rise in the price of the MSP crops. Important from the perspective of agriculture prelims, and let us cover some important information related to minimum support price. So it is a price safety net that government guarantees that it will pay to the farmer, and so kind of protecting the farmers from the falling price of the certain crops. So it was introduced in late 60s during the Green Revolution, and it is announced twice a year, just before the Kharif sowing season, that is rainy season, monsoon season, and Rabi sowing season, that is winter season. And these recommendations are made by the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, that is CACP, while MSP is approved by the Cabinet Committee on the Economic Affair. So CACP suggests the prices and Cabinet Committee approves it. CACP functions under Ministry of Agriculture. And most important point, MSPs do not have a statutory or legal backing. So this is not a right, just a government measure to support farmer, so that minimum income can be guaranteed. It motivates farmer to grow certain crops, basically the staple crops, because they are assured of their income, so they will grow more staple crop. It also acts as a buffer against price fluctuation, especially during harvest season. A strong agricultural sector will uplift rural livelihood and thus strengthening the Indian economy as a whole. Farmers are protected from being forced to sell their produce and at unfair prices. So exploitation is also avoided. That is why there are needs of minimum support price that has to be given. Now, what are the crops that are covered? So, Kharif crops, cereals include paddy, jowar, bajra, ragi and maize. Pulses include tur, moong and urad. Oilseed include groundnut, sunflower seed, soya bean, sesame and Niger seed. While the commercial crop grown during the Kharif season is cotton is also covered. In Rabi season, wheat and barley. In pulses, gram and masoor, that is lentil. Oil seeds, rapeseed, mustard and the sunflower. And commercial crop include copra and jute. So these are the crops which are covered under MSP, and you should remember these things, because UPSC in 2018 has specifically asked that out of these crops, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has announced the minimum support price for which of the above. So at least you can have an idea about certain crops which are not major crops, which are not included. So please try to solve this question and let us know your answer in the comment box. Moving further, UN Food Agency has halved its aid to Syria. The World Food Program, a UN agency, has said that it has not sufficient it is not having sufficient funds to maintain the aid to Syria because of the withdrawal of the USA from giving fund, and USA has not withdrawal, it has slashed its foreign aid under President Trump. Important from prelims, as the important international institution and agencies have been mentioned in your syllabus. So World Food Program is headquartered in Rome, Italy. It is branch of United Nations and deals with hunger, eradication and promotes food security in the world. It is world's largest humanitarian agency, which was established in 1961. The funding is voluntary from the government, corporate or private donors. It is guided by the Sustainable Development Goal 2, which deals with the eradication of hunger, sustainability of agriculture and nutrition security. This program has an executive board which consists of 36 member states. It is headed by an executive director which has a fixed term of 5 years, who is appointed by UN Secretary General and Director General of FAO, that is Food and Agricultural Organization. It is member of United Nations Development Program, that is UNDP. It has won the Nobel Peace Prize in the year 2020. And very important report, that is Global Report on Food Crisis, is published by World Food Programme. So that's all for today's session. Stay tuned for more such updates. Thank you.